We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Through the sky, through the land, do you hear, in the height on the plain, in the vale on the plain, in the sun, in the rain, do you hear, through the roar, through the rush, through the flow, through the crush, do you hear in the hush of your soul? Hear the cry, fear won't still, hear the heart throb to will, hear a sigh startling trill, in your soul, in your soul. From the place where you stand to the outermost strand, do you hear? in the height, on the plain, in the vale, in the sun, in the rain. Do you hear? Do you hear? Do you hear?
Thank you for joining us here in person, and thank you for joining us remotely by Zoom, where we will continue live streaming and posting of these services on your YouTube channel for our virtual attendees. I'm Nick Williams, a member of the worship committee. I will be your worship associate today. Other members of our worship committee who make this service possible include Alec Peck, our music coordinator, Adam Wedeking, who monitors our visual and online connections, and Kate Lewicki, who is in charge of our sound system, and Grace Preuss, who, along with Pat Cawunder, will be delivering the sermon this morning. We welcome to this opportunity to be together in community. What you bring, who you are, enriches us all. This congregation is a place where we come to learn about being human, how to be in relationship individually and collectively, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion with ourselves and with others. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, established in 1949 to increase awareness of the importance of mental health and wellness in our lives and to celebrate recovery from mental illness. Before we move into the service, there are a few announcements we would like to share. We will mention several websites, email addresses, and phone numbers. At the end of the service, we will leave up a slide with all this information, and it is available on our website. The congregational meeting will be held on the second Sunday in June on the 9th at noon. Sandwiches will be served before the meeting. Please be sure to attend. We will be electing officers to the board, approving the budget, and making plans for the future of the church. Your input is important. Women's Fed will be holding their end of the year luncheon on Saturday, June 8th at noon in the parish hall. This is a potluck, so bring a dish to share. Remember to bring a review of a book you read this year to also share. All right, thank you, Pat. That concludes our announcements. Welcome to our visitors today, and welcome back to our old friends. We would love to meet you during coffee hour after the service. If you're comfortable doing so, please raise your hand and give us a wave so that we can recognize you later. And for those on Zoom, you can use the Zoom wave gesture or just wave at your camera. We'd love to chat with you out in the parish hall, where you can also find our visitors book. Please leave your name before you leave so that we know you were here, and leave your contact information if you want updates on church events. There will also be a short discussion after the service if you'd like to share your reflections with us. For those online, the best way to get added to the mailing list is to email the church office at admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. Now I invite you to sit back, take a slow, deep breath as we move into our worship hour. You are welcome to read with me the mission statement of our church. Our mission is to foster a diverse religious community that celebrates life, affirms the individual, encourages spiritual growth and open thought, and works to advance social justice and environmental sustainability. Today's topic will be presented by UUCR members Pat Cawunder and Grace Preuss. Pat began her relationship with UUCR by attending Joanne Anderson's weekly Tai Chi class in the parish hall, beginning in 1985. In 1991, she joined a group of UUCR women that met weekly for about 20 years. She has served as treasurer and taught in religious education. She holds a weekly meditation group and organizes the monthly lunch bunch gatherings. Her education includes a BA and an MS in mathematics and a PhD in clinical psychology. She worked as a licensed clinical psychologist at Patton State Hospital for 24 years and retired in 2009. Grace is a self-defined irrealist. Also, what that means is a realistic idealist. A realist? Okay. Who arrived at UUCR in 2018 as the latest stop on her spiritual journey. She hasn't escaped yet. She works as a small business consultant, is the mother of a son, Alec, enjoys traveling, and is interested in the arts, especially literature and writing. Today's topic ties into Mental Health Month and highlights the first and second tenets of the 7 UU principles which we strive to live by. First, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Second, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. As the writer William Faulkner wrote, "The past is never dead. It isn't even past." Our individual origin stories of personal memories, history, and experiences are an important part of who we are today. How can these stories help us in shaping the next chapter of our lives? But first, Occupied Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle. We have 2 lightings of sacred flames. The first is a remembrance candle for the indigenous peoples whose traditional territories are now occupied by this sacred space and who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. This spot we occupy was originally the sovereign space of the Cahuilla, the Capeño, and the Serrano, and others. We, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light the sacred flame as stewards of the sacred and holy place. Our second sacred flame is our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. We are blessed with this space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to be part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice. As we worship together. Today's chalice lighting words are "Let There Be Light" by Andrew Pakula. Let there be light, the light of joy, the light of happiness, and the light of contentment. May it illuminate our paths and fill our lives with peace. And let there be dark, for it is from our dark places that we are brought forward, tried and tested, and impelled towards growth. It is in these places that we realize compassion and learn to love. And there was day, and there was night, and there was joy, and there was sorrow, and it was good. Our hymn now is number 128, For All That Is Our Life, from the Gray Hymnal. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is our gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is our gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
This portion of our service is to support our beloved historical church. This can be accomplished several ways. In addition to weekly collection, you may send your checks to the church address, which is shown here. You may contribute by PayPal using the QR code, which is shown here, as well as on the church website and in the newsletter. Stater Brothers Market gives our church a rebate on Stater grocery cards, which we will have in church each Sunday. Amazon gift cards are also available. You get the full value, and the church also receives a percentage for free. Please see Dinah Rowe or Robert Braun in the church office if you're interested in purchasing the gift cards. Please donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. Thank you for your generosity. To those who give of their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. To all of you who have joined us today, thank you for the gift of your presence. Will our ushers now please come forward to receive the collection? The bag will also be passed around to collect food and hygiene items for those in need. Our next hymn is number 402, From You I Receive, from the Gray Hymnal. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 402, From You I Receive. Our meditation today is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and to endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you lived, this is to have succeeded. Let us pause for a moment of silence. Now, I would like to introduce Grace Preuss and Pat Cawunder speaking to us on our origin stories, how our pasts shape our present selves.
Thank you, Nick. Good morning, everyone. Once upon a time, something significant happened in each of our lives that added a line to our story. Human beings are drawn to stories because we seek meaning and purpose in our existence. Our experiences are held within our minds as stories, and each story carries its own message and lesson. We all have origin stories, and they all matter. Origin stories are the places where our identities were born, and they matter because they help us and others understand how we came to be and who we are now. They give us insight into the motivations for what we do and how we do it. Our stories are lived experiences stored in mind and body in a symbolic form. It's a form of communication between our conscious and our unconscious selves. Stories are the guiding maps that we use to navigate the pathways of life. They tell us who we are, where we have been, and how it felt to be there. Our personal histories are also a part of us. History, the word history, comes from the Greek word historia, which means inquiry. So it may be helpful to inquire into how our past is connected to our present selves, to better understand and examine our core beliefs and values. Like the foundation of a house, it can be said that our childhood experiences are the groundwork on which the rest of our adult lives are built. They form the basis of our belief systems and hopefully assist us in gradually learning to think for ourselves. It is clear that childhood has an effect on our adulthood, and our early experiences shape our belief about ourselves, about others, and the world. If that foundation is not solid, it can affect the structure of our adult lives. Someone once said, "The way parents speak to their children becomes their inner voice." What does your inner voice say to you? It has been suggested that children internalize and learn from the beliefs and attitudes that they witness around them. The culture one grows up in also plays an important role in shaping cognitive development. Many theorists believe that the internalized values of behavior during early socialization are key factors in predicting a child's future character. It is important to recognize that our inner voices are often a reflection of our own thoughts and beliefs about ourselves. If our inner voice is constantly negative and critical, it is because we have internalized negative messages from our past experiences or from societal expectations. On the other hand, if we find that our inner voice is generally positive, balanced, and resilient, it is likely that we felt wanted and loved from the very beginning. Our basic needs were probably met, and our parents or caregivers provided us with the security, space, and time to discover and explore the things that we love to do. Now I'd like to invite Pat Cawunder, who will speak to us on her observations and insights on origin stories from both a personal and a professional perspective. Pat?
Good morning. So as Grace said, parenting is really important for kids. And of course, parents have no training or experience before they get their first kid. So they probably get better as they go along. I'm not sure if that's true. Anyway, life is not easy and kids need support. They need help dealing with frustration. They need to know they're loved. It's really important for each child to know at some point that they're the center of somebody's world. They're wonderful. There's this stage like 2 where a child thinks he or she has all the power in the world, and they need somebody who really loves them to channel that into realistic expectations about your own and other people's places in the world. But sometimes, if parents make big mistakes in raising children, the children never recover. I'm going to use as an example of this number 45, because we've been lucky enough to have Mary Trump, the niece of our former president, write a book about his childhood and how he became the monster that he did. His parents, his father, Fred, was enormously successful financially, mainly by luck, but also he had, help and support. But it turns out his wife had started the business. So it's, anyway, Fred supported Donald being a bully, being hateful to his brothers and sisters. Fred liked it when the kids fought with each other, and he liked it when Donald came out on top. He supported Donald being a bully, not listening to the rules not following the rules. If you can imagine indulging a kid and having the wealth and power and hired staff to support it, that's a really terrible way to raise a kid because they'll never understand. The other thing is that Fred's mother had an illness at a crucial time in his life, and she disappeared. She was away because she was so sick, and he felt abandoned by that. And her belief was that she would raise the girls and her husband would raise the boys. So she never reconciled with him or got close to him. So that destroyed any hope he would ever have of having empathy or genuinely being able to love people. He has what we call a personality disorder. His particular diagnosis is malignant narcissism, meaning he's I'll talk more about narcissism later, but he's totally focused on himself and his own needs, doesn't care about others. And the malignant part is that he enjoys hurting people. I don't know if you remember The Apprentice, but his favorite part was firing people. I could never understand what the attraction. Anyway, so he never developed sort of human characteristics of love and empathy. Empathy is the ability to appreciate other people's pain and not sympathize, but actually feel it as though it was yourself. And it's a really important characteristic. It's what makes us all human. And he just doesn't have any ability. So let me talk about personality disorders in general. The thing that's really terrible about it is that often it doesn't get fixed. It can't be fixed. As a therapist, I've worked with plenty of personality disorders, and you just get frustrated because people don't change. The only way people change is if they decide they want to. And some of my patients at the hospital did. Bless their hearts, they finally realized that the way they were living was less than human. The other thing is that personality disorders are a continuum. We all have a little narcissism, a little antisocial, a little borderline, because it's fun. But anyway, that's just my take. Anyway, the narcissistic personality disorder characteristics are, think about your 45, grandiose sense of self-importance, frequent fantasies about having or deserving special treatment, a belief in one's own superiority, desperate need for admiration, a sense of entitlement that everything should come your way, a willingness to exploit others, lack of empathy, and frequent envy. If you think about it, that's a really uncomfortable, unpleasant way to live. You know, it's not fun. Most people with this problem can't actualize these fantasies. Unfortunately, 45 had the ability because of so much money and so much cowardice in other people that he's managed to make a career of it. But anyway, that's narcissism. Then there's borderline personality disorder. The reason it's important for you to know about these is that when you make a new friend, you should pay attention. Not, be suspicious, but just pay attention. Are you the one always paying for lunch? Is this person borrowing money and not paying it back? Is this somebody that's always telling you their troubles and there's never their fault? All these things that happen are just, bad luck or something? No. Stop and think. Just pay attention. Okay, so borderline personality disorder is another problem that people have that's harder to recognize. Characteristics are, you need 5 of these: frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined. Wait, I can't read this. Oh, my printer died, I guess. Anyway, any kind of abandonment drives borderlines crazy. In general, there are people who are unstable. And one of the characteristics is they will love you and then they will hate you and then they will love you. And many of their relationships are like that. They're intense and they have chronic feelings of emptiness, inappropriate, intense anger that can be difficult to control, transient stress-related paranoid ideation. They're difficult people. Most therapists have a rule that they only want to work, they have a limit on the number of borderlines they'll take on their caseload at any one time because there's so much work. They're the guy, that's who calls you at 2 a.m. with, some desperate problem. Anyway, that's borderline. And as you know, if you probably think through your friends, some of them have some characteristics of borderline. As I said, it's a continuum, but the really full-blown borderlines have a real problem with life. It's very difficult. Okay, the other one I want to talk about is antisocial. I think people know a little more about antisocial than they do about the others. Antisocial people want to manipulate or deceive. They exploit or take advantage of someone else for their own benefit. They disregard the law or the rights of others, and they feel no remorse. I don't know about you, but I've been really surprised at the total lack of remorse, like for COVID. Anyway, enough about that. I want to end on a positive note. There's a Buddhist teaching about skillful speech. And when you're going to talk to somebody about something, ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it helpful for the person to know? And is it kind? And if you get yeses to all those questions, then it's really important that you think about and choose carefully when you're going to speak up. I'm talking here about those difficult conversations. Anyway, so I recommend that for you. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Pat. So in conclusion, imagine a sailboat on the ocean. The wake left behind tells us where the boat has been, but the final destination is determined by the sailor. One can even change course if conditions are not as favorable as originally thought. Regardless of our past experiences, we can all cultivate a healthy outlook by practicing self-compassion and self-kindness. Instead of criticizing yourself for your mistakes or shortcomings, try to offer the same empathy and understanding that you would offer to a friend. This can shift the tone of your inner voice and make it more supportive and encouraging, leading to more constructive thoughts and behavior. Pay attention to what your inner voice says. Being self-aware leads to greater self-development, acceptance, and proactivity. It will make us more confident and honest, help us to make better decisions, and build stronger relationships. As humans, we are designed to grow by integrating emotion, memory, history, and insight to come to a clearer understanding and awareness of ourselves, to honor our stories and live as authentically as we can with all of our flaws and strengths. Life is a book, and you are its author. You determine its plot and pace, and you, only you, can turn the pages.
Our closing hymn is number 354, We Laugh, We Cry, from the Gray Hymnal. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, and please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 354, We Laugh, We Cry.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die. We dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our need to be together. We have our hearts to give, we have our thoughts to receive, and we believe that sharing is an answer. A child is born among us and we feel a special glow. We see time's endless journey as we watch the baby grow. We thrill to hear imagination freely running wild, but dedicate our minds and hearts to the spirit of this child. And we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found our time to be together. And with the grace of age, we share the wonder of youth, and we believe that growing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder, and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die, and when our lives are done, the memories we shared with friends, they will linger on, and we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found a place to be together. We have the right to grow, we have the gift to believe that peace within a living is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
Our benediction. We are never complete. We are never finished. We are always yet to be. May we always allow others to be and help and enable each other to grow toward all that we are capable of becoming. Amen. Namaste, amen, and blessed be. I'd like to thank Pat and Grace for sharing their valuable time and insights with us this morning. It is sincerely appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you again. We'll have 10 to 15 minutes of question, answer, and discussion for those who wish to share their thoughts on today's topic. Be aware this will be included on the video that is posted. For the rest of you, you're now welcome to adjourn to the parish hall. Would anyone like to come up and share their thoughts? Is there anyone? Oh, we'll come to that in a minute. Is there anyone with a question or a comment? Brief. Bill, would you step to the microphone closely? Tell us who you are and what you thought.
Who I am is obviously a work in progress. Too bad they were still busy scribbling as we speak, but okay. A thing about what we become based somewhat on our path. Sometimes it's an allergic reaction and you want to be the anti this. And then sometimes you want to be, you can have a family with 2 kids in it, and one's dressing like mom and dad, thinking like them. You can have the other one who's basically the antithesis of all this. You can have the dress and the antithesis of attitude flipped around a little bit. So you wind up with this idea of, I guess we are at that thesis, antithesis thing. So many different flavors of that, and so hard to figure out what the other stuff is. Isn't it individuation? Isn't that the word they use for the process by which a kid, it can start out with girls are icky until they're not, where you have a young kid basically trying to sit there and say, I'm going to move about half and 3/4 of the population back until I figure out what the heck I am. But yeah, the whole act of becoming is frankly in that odious, well, dysfunctional, let us say, family. Looking at the way that thing plays out is a life lesson or 6. There's also the act occasionally of repression. If you've been thwarted in an area, you sometimes move into something to say, well, at least I can do this much. When the math was too much for me when I was in college, and I realized that I would not be able to make environmental science. It hurt my heart badly, but I thought, as I worked as a security guard, that at least I could do that much to keep these professionals' stuff safe so that they could have a good night's sleep. Sometimes you don't get the moonshot, but you're staring at rockets for the rest of your life.
Pat, I have a question. There's been a number of TV programs. I think the most well-known one is Dexter, who is supposedly this psychopath, sociopath, and so he has no connection with other people or the world. And so how likely is it that somebody like that, like is portrayed in this program, can have a set of rules that they will stick to in order to appear normal? They're going to hide if they can.
Can you hear me? Am I on? Okay. I've worked with psychopaths, and it's amazing how they recognize that they're somehow different. and they learn to pretend emotion and pretend. And they follow, is that your question?
Mhm.
Yes, they've learned to hide it. Also, a lot of professionals become psychologists and psychiatrists because they know there's something wrong with them, and they know that, and they will learn to hide it, and they get to be expert at it. So don't always trust professionals.
I was going to say, how good of a psychiatrist or psychologist would they actually be if they can't have that empathy?
So, yeah, they have no empathy, so that's a problem. But I certainly wouldn't want them as a therapist. But sometimes they're very intuitive about other people.
Mhm.
And like there were psychologists who worked in the torture, and they were very good at it. Yeah, I know. Not a proud moment for the American Psychological Association, but yeah. So there are talents that require lack of empathy. So
Thank you very much.
okay.
Thank you. Alec, and then
Thank you to both of you. I really liked what both of you had to say. First, Grace, I really liked what you said about how our memories become stories in our minds, because I've heard that on a neurological level, each time we recall a memory, it changes a little bit in our heads. And certainly, we like to think about historical events or events in our life in terms of stories. That's why like the 3-act structure is so popular in writing. We like to think about, there was a start and then a middle and then an end, and you came back and you learned something, and there was like a nice take-home message that fits in a nice little box. But often we have to, when you make your movie about Freddie Mercury's life, you have to change all the events around because real life doesn't work like a story usually does. And so often we sort of warp these memories of these events of our lives to make them these stories that we can easily digest and understand. But I also, with regard to the mindset, especially of more right-leaning politicians, I think another thing that has really stuck out to me is how we, as individuals, even think about what is fair. What does it mean for something to be fair? I think about Trump's quote about, or he tweeted something about if you spill 1 drop of American blood, we'll spill a gallon of yours, and that's because that's what fair is to them. 20 eyes for an eye is what's fair to them. What's fair to Trump is a fair trial means that he gets 20 times more opportunity to speak, and so I think that even for us personally, we need to really think about why we think certain things are fair, because that is, of course, very subjective.
Walt.
Garrison Keillor on his radio show said that you should hope that your children will make enough money so they can go into therapy and figure out what you did wrong during raising them. Thank you. The other thing I wanted to mention was I found that subtle things that happen to you can be quite an effect. So maybe it's good that I never had a child. Who knows what I would have done with mine. But my dad warned me. He said, don't ever say something to people in a small town about me because it will leak back. Well, years passed. I forgot that. These loggers, I was in this little town near where I grew up, and the loggers said, "We love your dad. He's a great guy. Tell us, how do you see him?" So finally I said something like, "Well, he says that better days have come and gone, but I can't think that way. That's fine for someone approaching 60, but for an 18-year-old, I have to think that things are going to launch, and so he's wrong." They promptly told him that. And after some time passed, my dad came up to me and merely said, "You weren't planned." Do you know that had an explosion in my mind? that shaped me to a really huge extent. I was going to get 3 degrees, double E, physics and math, and I could feel in my mind the brashness that I used to walk into physics and say, I'm going to take any class and do anything. That just melted away. I still got the math degree because I always finish where I start. But the double E, I just didn't, I ran out of clever ideas. And it's really because my sense of having someone behind me, my dad, that would allow me to take on the world and be rebellious, just completely melted away. But I was old enough to shape myself, so just call me whiner dog. But if you have children, you know, whatever small thing you say can. Actually, I talked to some sure-tailed relatives, and they said, you were planned. And I said, whether that's true or not, thank you very much. I felt an immediate change. They said, don't worry, you were planned. We were there and we know. Who knows?
Bill, round 2.
One of the things that we have to look at sometimes when we are looking at our past shaping us is that we have to sit there and say, today, can I find or manufacture or put on a potter's gloves so that I'm making something now? Like that I'm still shaping as of now. My mom had an allergy to newsprint and we didn't know it. She actually died early because she developed a habit of reading the newspaper before we were going to get out and have an afternoon drive. Well, it would make her sick and she couldn't drive. So I decided, she'd say, okay, you kids will clean up the house a patch and then we'll go on out. And I learned after a while that, I didn't realize that she was being slowly poisoned by the ink. But I thought, okay, so the moral of the story is that order is an excuse not to pay you what you promised. Whereas chance and keeping things loose opens the doorway to that. Without realizing it, I learned the wrong lesson. But then later on, I learned you can change the lesson. Talk to yourself as you dream a little bit. If you can't do lucid dreaming, talk to yourself as if you were the director and the main audience. And if a dream comes to you that is, it doesn't matter if it scares you, but if you see yourself in the dream world as being deeply and vigorously insulted, it's like, okay, this is a church, so I can't use the words directly, but it's like, okay, you bleep, come here. Be brave enough to talk to yourself. Reach into that thing that says, now, I can see this, but not what you said. Now, maybe you're clumsy because you don't use words as much as symbols, but you don't get to talk to me like that. And furthermore, if you're going to sit there and talk to me about this, since I hereby this is talking to yourself with a side of hash. But this is saying, all right, you bleep, you are hereby going to be standing hip deep in garbage for zero pay until you can come up with a better show for me. You insist on a better dream. You insist on kinder treatment. And you slowly chip away at what happens because your past hits you. Your unconscious is hit by it the same as your conscious mind. Your unconscious starts calling you names because it doesn't like the message it received, and it's angry at you, and it's easier to push off at the other. So you're basically being dissed once by the voice that spoke ill of you, and once by your own unconscious, which is danged unfair. And so not only, the glorious thing about being by yourself is the ability to talk to yourself. Mutter, 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 bleep you, yeah, bleep you too. And what the heck were you doing putting that on? When you got this shaping, please remember the ball is always in play. The game ain't over. And if you F up the clay, you can rebuild it. And there's more clay after that if you didn't like the shape of the first pot. There's always more time until they nail you into a box.
So the take-home message that I got from putting this together with Pat was that we all have the power to influence a child. So we have to be careful about what we say, especially in front of a child, because it sticks.
Mhm.
I just wanted to respond to Walter, the impact that having been planned had upon his life. That I don't know whether any of us can be planned. It's kind of in our evolutionary history that planning is not one-to-one, that we're here for another reason.
I have another question. When it comes to severe autism, is there a strain of narcissism there? Because they do have difficulty connecting emotionally with others. No. Mm.
No, as I understand it, autism is a different brain. The brain is wired differently. And narcissism is more, I think of as a distortion that you gain over the years in terms of your own importance.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Alec?
I'm glad that you asked because it's something that I had thought of earlier, in that I and other people like me portray some antisocial behaviors in the way that was described for us. And
Could you tell us what you are?
and that's because I am partially on the autism spectrum. And so when we look at antisocial behavior, we can to some degree say, why did someone behave that way? It's because they have antisocial personality disorder. But it's also important to understand that that's not the end of it. There's also reasons there that is not just, it is a cause, but it's also a symptom. There are reasons why people have antisocial behaviors. And like all these, like any category, it's not there. You don't always have the same sort of manifesting symptom of these antisocial tendencies. Aren't always from the same underlying source.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I totally support what you said. I was also thinking, my husband, Ted, had Alzheimer's, and he lasted 8 years beyond the first diagnosis. But slowly he became more and more selfish or antisocial and less able to put himself in other people's shoes. And I watched the effects of that, like on his kids. And it broke my heart that they didn't understand, because he wasn't the compassionate, good father he had been.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Walt 2.0.
Sorry, I was going to ask this of Pat because it's been something that I've observed in myself. But I believe that what you say to others about yourself out loud, your subconscious views it the same as someone else. So if you criticize yourself, you can actually feel a certain pain because your subconscious sees it as if someone else was insulting you. They can have a very severe repercussion. And so for that reason, maybe this is another technique. I may have gotten this from psychology at some point, to lecture yourself in a mirror. Whenever I start feeling sorrow or sad in some way, I immediately find the nearest mirror in my bathroom. And I go and I say, you be happy. You have no reason not. You have eyes that work and ear. No, I just go happy, happy, joy, joy. And I feel that little piece of unhappiness disappear. Now, maybe not everybody can do that, but I'm just wondering if that isn't something that people are often told perhaps about self-help, is that you can lecture yourself in the mirror and actually affect your subconscious, how it works. Is that true?
I think so, but I would also say that it would be really good to have compassion for yourself when you're sad. Maybe you're sad for a reason, and you should pay attention to that. Okay, that's your choice, but I just remember it's a choice.
All right, thank you very much, Pat. All right, is there anyone on Zoom with a question? Nothing there? Then let us adjourn to the parish hall. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it, because I'd be all alone if you weren't here. And that could bother me psychologically.